My name is Ashley. I am a one-time surrogate, and I am a wife married for over 10 years, and I am a mother of two. And I decided to pursue surrogacy because I knew that I was done building my own family and thought that I could help somebody else complete theirs. So I decided to become a surrogate because I knew I was done building my own family. But I felt like I enjoyed pregnancy enough that I could pursue it to assist somebody else. I learned about surrogacy the same way a lot of people do, which is through an episode of Friends. That episode is over 20 years old now, but a lot of people know that Phoebe was a surrogate for a family member. And I thought that was a really wonderful thing that she did, and it brought her a lot of joy. And they really did a good job of depicting the emotional side of it. And I thought that that was something I was capable of. So I don't think I had any fears about the physical process. I think the fear was finding the right people to go through that journey with and making sure that we were a good match for each other. There's a lot of emotional ups and downs in surrogacy. And so you want to have a support system outside of that, but also be able to walk that path together. When I let my family know that it was something I was pursuing and interested in, they were very supportive. And like most people who don't have any personal experience with surrogacy, they had a lot of questions, and it was an excellent opportunity for me to take them along my journey and educate them on what surrogacy is, and most importantly, what surrogacy is not. Yeah. My first journey was wonderful, beautiful, beginning to end. It was very smooth. I imagine looking back on it, if I were to explain to a first-time surrogate or a couple pursuing surrogacy what the perfect journey would look like, it was the one that I had. I was supported. The parents were just so wonderful and supportive. They allowed me to be who I was and trusted me through the process. And it allowed the relationship to grow very genuinely and organically over time into one that has lasted well beyond the birth. So the journey was mostly through text, and I would send videos after appointments. The appointments are very quick, so there's not a lot of information to share other than baby is doing great. And then for the major appointments, I would bring in a second person to the appointment with me so that they could hold the camera and the parents could participate live. Wanted them to be as much as part of that experience as much as possible with the distance. Some of the cool things that we did to maintain that relationship was we did a live ultrasound where they got to live stream while it was happening, which was really beautiful. And then we did some things to commemorate different parts of the journey. Like I did a watercolor portrait of the embryo that we transferred in the colors that match the baby's nursery decor, just ways to kind of mark those milestones. I shared what I was craving, and we blamed it on the baby, of course. And we said, here's what baby wants today, and baby's going to get what they want. And I think when they finally arrived in person, it just sped up that relationship. Like we got so much more close, much faster, and it made leaving that much harder because there's something that's so bonding about experiencing that birth together. But it made us realize we wish we would have been more open and in more regular communication about things beyond the pregnancy much earlier in the journey. And so I've carried that forward into a subsequent journey and building that relationship earlier. Very minor ones, nothing that was alarming or that I wasn't expecting, just having a little bit of familiarity with the French culture and Europe in general. Obviously, you need to accommodate for the time zones and the changes there, which can be easily managed through text communication and scheduling appointments that align with their time zone as well. And I think probably the one that I noticed in person the most is that French people like to eat dinner a lot later. And so when they came for the birth and they wanted to go out to dinner, a lot of the restaurants had already closed. So obviously the most pivotal, the first thing was the match meeting, and really getting to see that couple off of paper and who they were. I feel like the profile is just a glimpse, but you don't really get to feel, the energy that they bring until you meet them in that initial match meeting. And that really sealed the deal for me. And then they were so patient. They knew that, I had children of my own, and we were trying to navigate surrogacy and appointments outside of, my professional life and my family life. And I was, just doing the best that I could to move as quickly as I could while still navigating, regular life. And then when we had our transfer, we had discussed, did we want to test at home and me share the results, or did we want to wait for the blood test? We decided that I would test at home first, but I didn't tell them when I was going to do it, right? I didn't want to test too early and it looked negative and have bad news to share. But we ended up getting a positive test really early on, and so I shared it with them. This is probably one of my favorite moments of the journey, but I sent them a picture of a positive pregnancy test, and they wrote back, "What does it mean? We've never taken one before." And then I got to say, we're pregnant, we're having a baby. And that was a really amazing moment. Yeah, it exceeded expectations. We had planned for them to arrive by 37 weeks. Because I had never made it to 38 weeks pregnant. We wanted to err on the side of making sure the parents were available and at the hospital. But their baby girl kept us waiting. And so we went well beyond 38 weeks. We were all very anxious and excited. We had discussed doing an induction to help things move along, but ultimately she did decide to come on her own. We had a lot of discussion about, is today her birthday? Is today her birthday? So the way that I let them know that my water broke in the middle of the night was, wake up, today's your daughter's birthday. What I had done to prepare for that was, obviously I had all my legal paperwork ready to go in my hospital bag. I pre-registered at the hospital and let them know this is a surrogacy. The parents will be present. Their primary language is French, to make sure that they had either a French interpreter or one of those like screen interpreting services available for French, so that everything could be communicated to them in French. And I let the hospital staff know that they were expected to be in the room with me during the labor and delivery. So when it, came down to the moment, they were in the hospital and we were just waiting for them to get to the room. I had a very fast labor, and so it was time to push, but right as they were getting ready to walk into the room. So there wasn't a lot of time to mentally prepare. It was, they walked in and it is time. And they were right next to me every step of the way. We had discussed in a meeting prior, a birth plan, who would hold the baby, who would cut the cord. And it kind of went all out the window in the moment, right? And so ultimately they let me hold her first, which was beautiful. I wasn't expecting it. And we were all just kind of in shock. And we, gathered around her and just observed her and tried to figure out, who is this new person that we've been waiting for so long. And then I said, okay, I think it's time to cut the cord, and handed her off to one of her dads. And they did skin to skin, and we were all in the room together for several hours while they got the recovery room ready. And ultimately, I discharged from the labor room, and then they stayed back at the hospital with baby for about 24 hours. Yes, we are still in contact. She is 20 months old right now. We talk pretty regularly through text. We've done a few video calls on major milestones like her first birthday. And we share what's going on in our personal lives, what's going on with, their baby and my children. And we just keep up with each other. It was such a bonding experience, and they really understood, like, my involvement now is that I just so love them as people, and I just want to know that they're all doing well. But I also really enjoy when they share with me all the mischievous things that their child is doing. I don't just want to see, the good stuff when she's being cute and she's behaving. I want to know when she's getting in trouble too, and when she's giving them a hard time. And now we're just, we're parents, sharing what our shared parental experience is.